everybody. Yeah. All right, let's do it. The Secret Service is stumped by this baggie of bump. There you go. Remember when somebody left a bag of cocaine in the White House? And remember how the Secret Service evacuated the West Wing and closed off the streets surrounding the White House? Initially, everybody thought Joe had once again left a floater in the men's room. Then remember how one of President Biden's precious children was staying in that taxpayer-funded facility at the time because Joe wanted to keep the impressionable youngster away from bad influences? Or at the very least, hide him from process servers? And remember how Karine Jean-Pierre got really, really angry that the press kept even asking about it, even though she didn't want to talk about it?
Can you just say once and for all whether or not the cocaine belonged to the Biden family?
You know, there has been some irresponsible reporting about the family, and so I got to call that out here. I was clear 2 days ago when talking about this over and over. The Biden family was not here. So to ask that question is actually incredibly irresponsible, and I'll just leave it there.
Wow. The way she's reacting, I'm starting to believe maybe she sold it to Hunter. You know, press secretaries don't get paid that much. It's true. During the Bush administration, Dana Perino was selling injectable butt implants on the turnpike. Her street name was Derriere Dana. You also remember how the Secret Service claimed they had no idea who left the blow inside the most secure building in the world? That's harder to swallow than Jeffrey Dahmer's potluck meatloaf. Come on, people.
Oh, man.
That's tasteless? But it's like asking who is the hottest late-night talk show host. The answer's right in front of you. Well, that big cocaine headache has returned. The White House released new pics of that pesky pouch of powder. And as you can see, the culprit didn't just drop the bag of happy dust all willy-nilly. It was stored in a locker for cell phones. It was locker number 50, to be precise, which is most likely unlocked with some sort of key. That's what the little keyhole is for. I learned that by watching Law and Order. And also when I hide in the Planet Fitness locker room. So I got an idea. Why not find out who has the key to locker number 50, right? I'm no Nancy Drew, although I can rock a plaid skirt. But if you find the person with the key to that locker, you're one step closer to finding the owner of that nose candy. But who in the world could be that forgetful to leave a bag of Coke behind? You know, Cavuto made the same point today. You always remember our cocaine and forget our cell phone, not the reverse. I'm joking. It wasn't Cavuto. But what will this unknown culprit misplace next? A laptop? According to the Secret Service, they could only narrow down the suspects to 500 people, despite all their surveillance cameras and other state-of-the-art security. They just couldn't figure out who it was. So they closed the case in just 11 days, the same amount of time it takes Joe to find his way off stage. So here are the suspects so far, based on the symptoms we know about cocaine abuse or use. Well, it leads to aggressive behavior, like a certain bitey dog named Commander. I know. It could also lead to extreme weight loss, or perhaps deterioration in hygiene habits. And you can't count out those who are constantly laughing and dancing. And, you know, some might say she's a doctor, which is a perfect cover for running a drug ring. How about dilated pupils and nonstop gibberish? And don't forget excessive lying. And, of course, there's all this sniffling and sniffing. But there's someone we know it can't be. Absolutely, it's not him. No way. Don't even think about it. No, seriously, knock it off. Anyway, here's one reason why it might not have been Hunter's coke. According to a Secret Service report obtained by the Daily Mail, testing showed that the cocaine was cut with baking soda. You know, you got to think $100 up for the pure stuff, am I right? We know we can afford it. True, this coke was more stepped on than an American flag at a college protest. So other than these new pictures, why are we revisiting this story? Well, by way of comparison, the feds are still tracking down people who entered the Capitol building on January 6, 2021. That was almost 3 years ago, but the feds are still on the case, which means they're probably innocent. Think about it. It's why they don't chase rich Democrats for their crimes, because what do you do when you find out that they're guilty? you do nothing. You can't. Your hands are tied. It's just better to chase Trump supporters instead and then lock them up. So they nailed the guy who put up his feet on Pelosi's desk, but not the criminal mastermind who left a bag of coke in the White House. It's amazing what the government can accomplish with the proper motivation and what they can specifically avoid doing, especially when they're given the order to stand down. The Secret Service used to be the one federal agency everybody could trust. They have the toughest job in the world, putting their lives on the line to protect the president. They have to swear to take a bullet for someone, which is what I expect from Kilmeade when we're out in public together. But now they seem like they're bumbling around trying to solve the simplest crimes. Either those agents really are incompetent or they're just pretending to suck at their job in order to protect the Biden family. Which likelihood is worse? One thing is for sure, Hunter isn't losing any sleep over this. I wonder why. Let's welcome tonight's guest. We're demanding a ceasefire against his tailor, host of Fox Across America, Jimmy Fallon. She's funny, talented, and good-looking. Wait, that's me. Actress and comedian Chandler Juliet. She's too small to tackle and impossible to shackle. New York Times best-selling author and Fox News contributor Kat Tiff. And he trims his beard with an outboard motor. New York Times best-selling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion, Iris. You know, Jimmy, since this is a story basically, you know, about smuggling cocaine into the White House, we figured you'd be the expert on at least smuggling cocaine. You'll never get near the White House. What do you think is going on here?
Well, I mean, the truth is it's hunters. Okay, we know that it's hunters. Because in order for the coke to get into the White House, it needs to bypass security. And only the family is bypassing security. You dig? Mm-hmm. And if you've learned anything from the laptop, let's be honest, this guy has a lot of suspicious packages. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Good night, everybody. That was done. But it's terrible. I mean, and the only thing I would tell you as a takeaway, because I'm not a drug dealer, okay? Yeah. But I'm going through this.
You just dress like someone who's playing an undercover drug dealer on 21 Jump Street.
I have the absolute opposite experience this week. You know, like you can tell what you look like based on how you walk through Times Square and the drug dealers approach you. Mm-hmm. So like when I first started at Fox, I would walk through 42nd Street and the guy would be like, yo, brother, we got coke, we got smoke, we got weed. I walked through this morning, he's like, yo, we got Lipitor, we got Ozempic, brother. You know what I mean? You and your girl gonna sleep good tonight with these Breathe Right strips, daddy, you know? So I feel for the drug dealers. But I feel like at the same time, like the lack of interest in this story is why people hate the media for being hypocritical. Mm-hmm. Okay, they freaked out when Trump brought Diet Coke into the White House.
Right.
Okay, this guy's showing up with original recipe. We don't get a gosh dang word.
Chandler, that's a really good point, and I'm surprised it came from Jimmy after that terrible Breathe Right joke. But anyway, no, it's true. It's like remember when Trump was president, they were running articles constantly about what drug he was on. Mm-hmm. Remember, he's always tweeting at night, he must be on Adderall, or maybe he's taking some kind of speed. But here, they don't seem to mind, and neither is yet the FBI. What do you think of that?
You're right. They said that his sniffle was that because he used to do cocaine. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that they couldn't come up with any suspects because everyone in the White House does blow now.
Oh,
it's the only way they can get through the day.
Really?
And it's definitely not Hunter's because it was cut with baking soda.
Yeah.
He would know. Maybe they sent it to him and he tested it out. He goes, no, that's not the real stuff.
That's mine. I'll just throw that in the locker. Yeah, it's like baking soda, Kat. I mean, not that I would know, but that seems like an odd thing to cut cocaine with. Usually it's baby laxative. Again, not that I would know.
Yeah, I get why it's so hard to find the person who did this, though, because people who do a lot of cocaine, they never talk.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think it's Hunter's, though, because he smokes crack rocks, right?
Yeah.
That was his whole thing. He liked to smoke the crack rocks and not snort it, right?
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right.
See, I also think that the investigation wouldn't be that hard. They said they've narrowed it down to 500 people. Mm-hmm. They could narrow it down further with one question.
Which is?
Want a bump? I should be a detective.
You really should. I would watch the hell out of a Law and Order SVU TIMF.
Me too.
There you go.
I'm in.
So, Tyrus, this story reminds me of a lot of stories in the media where they don't bother following up. Like we talked about, like how the homeless were just swept off the streets in San Francisco.
Yeah,
and where did they go? Nobody knows. You find Coke, who does it belong to? Nobody knows. I guess we'll never find out.
No, everybody knows. And you know what? I'm proud of everyone in this panel. You have never sold drugs.
Yeah.
Because you don't know that baking soda is how you make crack.
Oh, really?
So,
my word.
Yes. Listen, people, I'm going to educate you. Listen, I don't condone making crack, okay, but if you must, baking soda is important, okay? So they boil it down. You got to boil it down, and they use baking soda to rock it up. So it was not his cocaine. He said, I didn't have cocaine.
Yeah.
I had pre-crack in a locker room, but I didn't have cocaine in the locker room. He would be the guy who would buy that because he likes crack. He smokes crack. So if he does cocaine, he would do the same with the baking powder cut because that's what he likes.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper. And those of us who've seen the way he pays child support, he likes to save his money.
Yes.
So it's 1,000% his.
Yeah.
Everyone knew it was his stuff. Plus, I watch a lot of Forensic Files before I go to sleep at night. And one of the things, besides semen, that gets men in trouble all the time is these little things called fingerprints.
Right.
And plastic baggies are pretty good at catching fingerprints. So it shouldn't have taken very hard to go one dust and be like, oh, we got a print.
Yeah.
And it was a locker. Again, surface, very good at catching a print. So they already knew they want it to go away, and they try to confuse Americans saying, we've got 500 suspects. To where my thing was, great, bring them in. I'd love to see the lineup.
Yeah.
So we know whose it is. It's his, and it won't come out until he's up out of it, because if it does get found out that it's his, he goes to jail.
Yeah.
So that's why the secret. They're not taking a real bullet. They're taking a bullet for the president to protect his son.
It's infuriating when I think the contrast between this and January 6th is really important, because there are people, there's no shortage of agents investigating these people.
Yep.
Some people that weren't even there, you know, and instead this guy, it's just unbelievable.
We could have wrapped this investigation up. I would have teamed up with Tyrus and Tim detectives, and walked in the room. I'd have put the light on him. I'm going to get a cup of coffee. Kat would have sat down and be like, want a bump?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would have come in, care for some baking soda, and we would have had it.
Tim, would you have a catchphrase? Like, you know, like the guy
Yeah,
from
it would be want a bump. No, I'm kidding. I would not have a catchphrase.
I just love that, Tyrus, that you know the crack recipe. Like, I have a different.
Yeah, I sold drugs when I was younger.
I have a different Steve Ducey cookbook. I got to buy that one.
All right. We must move on. Up next, data shows Trump's cruising while Joe's snoozing.
If you'll be in the New York area and would like tickets to see Gutfeld, go to foxnews.com/Gutfeld and click on the link to join our studio audience.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.